Hello all of you beautiful little demons, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again with another episode of the awesomely named and awfully hosted Choose Your Own Adventure, the weekly medieval themed format where I, the crown Jules of WhatCulture.com, take a list chosen by you, yes you the person who has two pieces of information here. The first is, did not know that those peanuts-scented pretzel bites that I was showing off in a previous video, didn't know that they come in chocolate versions. They don't sell them here in the UK. I'm kind of glad about that though. I do not need that. My heart was already like palpitating just thinking about them. But thank you very much for letting me know that they exist. And also, you may hear like a sneezing noise occasionally throughout this video. It's because I got a new air freshener and it scares the bejesus out of me each and every time that it goes off. You're welcome. Yes, you get to decide what list I dole out to you each and every week, and this week we have none other to thank than Ty Hansen 9152 and their suggestion for tiny video game enemies that pack the biggest punch. And they say that sometimes big things come in small packages, and while of course this naturally refers to the ability to stuff a foot-long Subway sandwich into your Street Sharks themed lunchbox.
Jules? That's not what it means.
What do you mean? What do you mean that that's not what the saying means? It's a sex thing. Because when it comes to video games, it can imply that there's a powerhouse character of smaller stature that should never, ever be underestimated. Take Little Mac, for example, who, while being a good couple of feet shorter than his opponents, routinely lifts them off their own with his powerful uppercuts, or Clank, who will bamboozle opponents far larger than himself with his cunning and gadgets. But what about the other side of the coin, of the enemies no higher than your knee who were still able to bite your kneecaps off in short order? Well, let's take a look at them today, as I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 tiny video game enemies who obliterated you. And you know the drill by now. Say hi to me here in the live chat and put your suggestions for next week's episode down in the comment section below. But with that in mind, let's get on with it, shall we? Number 8, the goddamn Imps from Elden Ring. Dan, what you got there, Dan? Oh. It's the Imps from Elden Ring. 2 seconds, mate. These enemies, man, these goddamn imps. Seriously, even though there are far tougher enemies in Elden Ring, even in the opening sections of Limgrave, these imps that can be found within the catacombs and dungeons of this outstanding title were, and sometimes still are, the bane of my bloody existence. They are just the perfect storm of awful, in that they're able to dish out punishment from afar with projectiles and up close with a flurry of attacks sure to take new players by surprise. And speaking of surprises, I hope that you liked having these little bastards drop down behind you from their hiding spots and being stabbed right betwixt thy cheeks, because that is going to happen a lot. Now, to be fair, the imps don't have that much health, and once you start attacking them, they fold quicker than a house of cards on an active fault line, but still, the amount of times that I saw a blade emerge from between my ribcage and just go, oh, hang on a minute, that wasn't there before, it were too many to count. Seriously, I died way too many times against these goddamn imps. Number 7, Crawlers, Dead Space 2. From the moment that you enter the nursery section in Dead Space 2, a shiver likely went down your Clarkian illuminated spine, because you just knew that there was going to be some effed up enemies coming over the horizon. And of course, this being the outstanding sequel to the original horror classic, Dead Space 2 did not disappoint, as the crawler enemies were absolutely horrifying in every way imaginable. Now, firstly, the idea of fighting babies and toddlers assimilated by the necromorphs is one that will likely chill your soul. And as parents to newborns will attest, the experience of fending off a screaming mass of limbs and goopy poopy viscera is all too bloody real. Except here, the demon baby isn't going to be calmed down by putting on some, I don't know, like Paw Patrol and giving it a pint of mother's milk. I'm just imagining, like, I don't know, I'm just thinking of like a baby as a geezer, like Ross Kemp but as a baby. All right, mate. Pass us the boob. In fact, the only thing that's going to be going down for a nap is you should you get too close to this horror show, as the crawler will explode, taking everything out around it in a fleshy detonation. If you were on the fence about having kids yourself or adopting, this may well push you definitively... Let's just rewind that bit, shall we? Definitively down one side. I know that Dan's going to keep that take in. Even if I do another one, that's the one that's going in. Number 6, Squigs, Space Marine. Now, being a warrior for the Emperor of mankind sure is a bit of a rough gig. I mean, to the outsider looking in, it all seems rainbow rhythms and thunder hammers, a glorious cavalcade of smashing evil in the face and basking in the warm, gooey glow that is glory and renown. But in reality, though, it's a rather different story. Not only is war a constant threat to the point that you only likely get about 30 minutes a day to not be shooting things in the face constantly, which, let's face it, you're probably using to say, "Thank you, Mr. Emperor, thank you, Mr. Emperor," a million times over. But your suit likely stinks to high heaven thanks to all the rotten Xenos alien bits that have splashed inside your collar. And there's also the fair old chance that your moment of glory will be cut short thanks to a weird pig mushroom that's now strapped to the gills with TNT and is charging towards you. Yeah, I know that sounds like an odd way to die, but such is the world of Warhammer 40k because the aforementioned pig mushrooms, well, they're known as Squigs. And as a 40k orc player, they are my best friend. But when I'm playing Space Marine, they are my worst. Dealing massive damage, because I mean, what else would you expect from a literal Wile E. Coyote level of Acme devices strapped to its back, these Squigs will routinely catch you off guard thanks to you having to deal with the literal green tides of orcs at nearly every turn. Therefore, you will die to these tiny little things again and again and again. And again. Cool. Number 5, the Jelly Bully, Cuphead. Now, in all honesty, you might be scratching your head as to what the heck the Jelly Bully enemy even was in Cuphead, and may therefore draw the conclusion that it can't be that big of a deal, seeing as you'd likely remember a particularly nasty enemy in the particularly amazing Cuphead video game, right? Well, just because it didn't kill you does not mean that it wasn't a massive headache for a ton of players who were in the wrong place at definitely the wrong time. The place, Sugarland Shimmy, and the time, well, whenever you veered off over to the right-hand side of the screen during the opening section of the boss battle. If you find yourself trapped in the corner, desperately trying to fend off these less than sweet mini-bosses, well, you've got to pay attention to the lower right of the screen, as it's here that the Jelly Bullies will declare war on your teeth by trying to kick them down your throat with their sugary boots. Thanks to their tiny size, random spawn time, oh yeah, and the fact that you're fighting other bosses at the same time, the Jelly Bully can definitely catch you off guard. Remember, in this game, you only have a handful of hits at best, so when it comes along and bashes you, well, you may die to something that is about, well, literally bean-sized. Number 4, the Jockey, the Left 4 Dead franchise. It's so funny how the Left 4 Dead franchise has managed to create this kind of Pavlovian call and response relationship with its player base through sound alone. The range of cries and moans from players depend on which audio cue is fed to them right before a special infected launches its attacks. And it's here that I'm going to ask my lovely and beautiful assistant Dan to help demonstrate this, because I'm going to say a name of the special infected and you'll be able to see the range of emotions and noises that come out of him as a result. So for example, if I mention the Witch.
Oh, come on.
Ah, yes, see, he's reacting to the Witch there very nicely because he knows that obviously the Witch has just spawned in and is likely going to be in the one bloody door that he needs to go through. But let's move on to the Tank.
Oh, shit.
Yes, because here he's realised that the Tank is just going to ruin every best laid plan that he's put into motion. And we'll finish things off with the Boomer.
Okay, now that's just gross.
Yes, because he's disgusting and lives exclusively on Facebook. Boomer joke. Yet of all the special infected, there is truly one that will inspire pure cries of, oh, absolutely f*** off, mate, each and every time without fail, and that is the bloody Jockey, because you know what? This horrible critter absolutely sucks. Now, it's bad enough to be pinned down by the likes of a hunter or hung out to dry by the smoker, but at least that's in a fixed position where your team can pinpoint your cries and get you back on your feet. The Jockey, however, well, it doesn't play by your dang rules, and will jump on your back like Yoda from The Empire Strikes Back and yell,
"This is why you fail,"
as he leads you into a pack of other infected or off a bloody ledge to your doom. And even worse is when these lumpy little dicks are piloted by other players in the versus mode, as here, with expert knowledge of the map and a whole extra dose of troll juice, these jockeys will lead you not simply to your deaths, but also into choke points for other attacks, or just on a merry ride all the way back to the starting spawn area to really drive home how utterly screwed you are. Cheers, mate. I love that. I'm definitely speaking from personal experience. In fact, it was only about 3 weeks ago that this happened to me, all the way back to the starting area before I died. Oh, lovely. What a time to be alive. Number 3, Facehuggers, the Alien franchise. Now, while one might immediately think of the much larger, double-mouthed horror that is the Xenomorph when the words Obliterated and Alien franchise are mentioned, there is another equally deadly opponent found within this library of games that is made even worse by the fact that it is absolutely tiny. I'm speaking, of course, about the Facehuggers, the most friendly of the horrors found within the Alien video games, and I use that term very loosely, seeing as they see your warm, squishy body as the perfect gestation pod for their eggs. You can imagine them just going on like a date, can't you? Just sitting across you from a restaurant, and you're just there like, there's something a bit odd about you, but I'm not a shallow person. I can look past. Your personality seems very nice. You're very keen, though. You're very, very keen. Maybe calm down. Maybe calm down, mate. Now, as a well-armed and disciplined Marine with a badass attitude, you're going to look at these wispy enemies and think to yourself, I am going to utterly obliterate you. But the problem is that they're quite quick and hard to pin down, even with concentrated fire. And not helping matters is the fact that they're very rarely operating alone, and you're more than likely fighting them in poorly lit conditions with a ton of obstacles for them to hide behind. So it's not all that surprising to find yourself on the receiving end of this very firm handshake, and you know what that means? It's an instant game over in many games. How rough is that, to receive such an almighty slap in the chops that your Marine keels over and dies? But actually, special shout out to Alien Resurrection in this department, because while your hero would seemingly survive this attack, a small countdown timer appears in the top left-hand corner, and if you can't rid yourself of the parasite in time, a chest burster will enact its namesake and burst through your ribcage like an eager drama student on the opening night through the curtains. You just imagine that, just like, blah, and off he goes. Oh, you'll do so well. I remember him from Othello. Number 2, Cuccos, the Legend of Zelda franchise. Surely these cannot kill you. These words were mentioned by myself to Scott Telford whilst I was researching this list, because even though I'm well versed and well aware of the Cucco revenge squad that appears numerous times in the Legend of Zelda franchise, I was not actually aware of how much these things absolutely are capable of kicking your ass. I just thought that they would harangue you and that they'd just go away. I completely repressed that memory of them as a kid, because I know it happened to me, but I've literally shut it out of my life. That's worrying. However, with a malevolent smile, Scott linked me to video after video of players getting absolutely scarred and feathered by these winged beasts after instigating the revenge squad to descend on their position. Now, they're so unassuming that one would never expect these guys to flock you up so badly, but if you mess with these chicks, then you're going to be left with more than just egg on your face, as it will likely be joined by pieces of your own spine and organs. Long story short, just leave them alone. For your own bloody well-being. And number 1, the Black Rabbite, Trials of Mana. Now, if there's one salient piece of advice that I can ever give you, the viewer, it is, well, aside from shave your head if you start going really bold on top, because a horseshoe look, it's never in. And also, fear the bunny. Ever since Monty Python's Holy Grail explored the idea of killer rabbits, the concept of fluffy little deathbringers has cropped up again and again in video games. From Fallout directly referencing this sequence, through to Shadow Warrior punishing players who attacked bunnies around the various stages with a demon rabbit that would chew through you like lettuce, there have been enough raving rabbits to put even Ubisoft's favoured sons to shame. Side note, the raving rabbits for taking Rayman's spotlight. Said my piece, I've said my piece, you know you agree with me. Yet never have I ever had my ego cut down to size quicker than through my short battle with the Black Rabbite, who is hidden as a secret boss in the underrated Trials of Mana video game. As the player explores some already dangerous dungeons, in a side room, you'll be ambushed by this critter. Now, seeing as at the start of the game, you're able to obliterate Rabbites just by casting a shadow their way, you'd expect this fight to be over in seconds. And you'd definitely be right, except it'll be you that's taking the dirt nap. You see, this Black Rabbite is the highest level an enemy can be, and also has the ability to summon level 99 demons, meaning that if its bite wasn't enough to shrivel you entirely, the kicking his mates are gonna dole out will definitely do the trick. This is one bad bunny that you should definitely stay away from. And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 tiny video game enemies that utterly obliterated you. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below, as well as your suggestions for next week's episode as well. If you want to follow myself or Dan Duggins over on the social medias, you can find us here at RetroJ with a 0 for myself and Dan's numerous social medias things here. He's probably only put up the one. He might not even put up any of them. He might not put up any of them. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. Consider this a tiny little nugget of wisdom that will hopefully help you obliterate a bad mood or just allow you to go off and live a healthy and happy life, which at the end of the day is all I want for you. And that is, just be kind to yourself, mate. Just be kind to yourself because you deserve the best things in life, like love, happiness, and success. We all do as human beings. And don't beat yourself up for mistakes that you've made in the past. We're all human. We make mistakes. Just forgive yourself, try and move on, and remember, you are a massive ledge. All right? As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that. I'll speak to you soon. Bye. Now, where do I get those chocolate-covered pretzel things?